Good evening, friends. I'm Saket, and I welcome you all to our special hangout on role of Agile Consultant. Today, we have Sunil Mundra with us, and we would be talking about what this Agile Consulting business is all about. And primarily, we would be focusing on who is this Agile Consultant, what he does, how do we know that he's a good consultant, and how can people who are or audience can get a tip about becoming a good Agile consultant. So before we go further, we need to ask what Sunil does. So I give an opportunity to Sunil to talk about himself, and so we can ask him a lot of hot questions related to Agile consultant role. Welcome, Sunil. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
So Saket, thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to have this conversation with you. I would also like to thank people who have joined this session for sparing their precious time to listen to me. I hope that we can make it as interactive as it can be made, given that this is an online session. So as far as my introduction is concerned, I work with Thoughtworks Technologies as a principal consultant. I've been with Thoughtworks for over 4.5 years now. I have a total of 25 years of experience, primarily in finance, and then of which 15 years is in IT. Again, most of it is in finance prior to Thoughtworks. In Thoughtworks, my experience has largely been around consulting with respect to Agile Adoption and Transformation engagements. I have worked with clients across multiple continents, clients which are distributed as well, medium-sized as well as large-sized clients. So that's me.
Great. And since you touched upon the point of interactivity, so for all the audience, you have a Q&A app in your panel. So in a Google Plus panel, you can see a Q&A app. You can only see it once you log into Google Plus. And if you have any query or when we do a conversation, you get some idea or some question which you want to ask to Sunil, you can type it there. It will reach us. The another way you can post your questions to us is via Twitter. You can use #DiscussAgile, and I will try to consolidate all those questions and put it into the conversation here. Now let's start. So let's start with first asking the role of an Agile consultant. How do we define that this is something called Agile consultant? Because we are confused about Scrum Master, Agile coach, Agile consultant, enterprise consultant. So if Sunil, if you just want to define that, what is this Agile consultant? How will you define it?
Okay, so I think before we get into the context of Agile, let's try and define what a consultant does, right? So on a lighter note, the definition of a consultant is that a consultant takes your watch, tells you the time, and then charges you an exorbitant fee for it, right? So but that's on a lighter note. But essentially, consulting is about somebody coming in with some expertise in a given area, also with experience in that given area to help a client in any given situation in terms of advice on anything. Right. So, in my view, broadly, that is what consulting is. So it's essentially an external party who goes into a client context and helps out in the chosen field. Of expertise of that consultant. Now, with respect to Agile, I primarily feel that there are two spectrums here. One is a pure advisory role, which is that you go into an organization and you just observe, you examine artifacts, you talk to people. And based on that, you give some advice in terms of what's not working well and what could be done. The other spectrum is, and this is like Duncan Fletcher, what he might do for the Indian cricket team. Right? He's with the team, but he's not playing, right? And he's observing stuff. He's probably motivating the players, and he's just giving advice. The other extreme is a consultant who embeds himself or herself within the team and actually becomes a part of the team and actually produces output with the other team members. Right. Most of this type of embedment is found in the engineering practices side. So if you're doing pairing, or if you're doing test-driven development, or if you're doing DevOps kind of work, where a niche expertise is needed, and it's just not helpful enough to just advise, but to actually roll up your sleeves and work with the team. Then that's where the embedment comes in. Now, there is something in between called as coaching as well, where you are actually part of a team, you are working closely with the team, but you are not contributing to output of the team in a direct way, right? And you can call that as a coach. So you are there, but you are really not directly contributing to the output of the team. So along these three spectrums, you can find the involvement of a consultant within the team. Then there is the next layer, which is mostly falls at the individual coaching mentoring level, is mostly at the managerial or the leadership level, where a consultant works on a one-to-one basis with senior leadership to provide coaching mentoring for senior leaders and managers. And at the same time, that person also looks at organization level issues and provides advisory kind of services. And mostly that kind of a consultant is an enterprise level consultant. So that's the broad spectrum, of consulting activities, I would say, in an agile context.
Okay, so this is becoming more complicated than I have expected. So it is like you have, if I have understood it well, so you spoke about 4 levels of consulting, and if I take it from in a sequence, the first level comes like an embedded level, where I am with the team, I am showing them how to do it, and they follow me, and I follow them, and make sure that they learn at the end of it. So that is the first level of coaching or consulting, which you termed as an embedded coaching or consulting, and which you, in your view, works great for technical practices.
Yeah, and also not just technical practices, it works great, definitely, but somebody playing a Scrum Master role, you could also call that as some kind of consulting, although, the person is actually there directly in the team, and he has taken up a role within the team, right? Or he or she. So that could also be, fitting into this category.
Great. And then when we talk about a bit upper level, so it's more about coaching. So where you are looking at from outside, you are not in the field, and you provide your advices, you provide your things, you monitor the things, how it is going, and that's a coaching level consultant, if I understood it well.
Correct. So the analogy which I would like to give for this particular one is like, it's like teaching a child to ride a bicycle. You will never ride a bicycle, right? But you will help the child to put the feet on the pedal. You will run along with the bicycle. If the child is falling down, you are there to protect the child. But you are not yourself riding the bicycle, but you are still there with the child throughout till the child gains confidence to ride the bicycle.
Great. And then I find these 2 levels more or less at a same, the mentor and advisor. So what I understand is mentor is more about individual level. You may have a mentor to CEO, mentor to a project management group, or someone where you look at one-to-one level things. And if I look at advisor, it is more like maybe a group level advices. So how do you differentiate mentor and advisor? Because they seems to be close to me.
Yeah. So mentor is as I said, it's always a one-to-one relationship. But an advisor is usually at a broader level. So somebody might look at, say, what are the HR practices that we need to improve in order to align them to agile way of working, right? Now that's where the advisory level comes in. So somebody who's an expert in HR practices and having seen them work in an agile environment, then he would look at the current HR practices and say, all right, these are the things that you need to change in your HR department, for example. So that I would call it as an advisory level.
Great. And where this agile transformation consultant will fit in then? Will it be an advisory level, or will it be at mentoring level? And mentoring is one-to-one, so maybe advisory or coaching level.
So I think I would call agile adoption and transformation as 2 separate phases, right? And agile adoption is where you have a single team or a few teams who are new to agile and who are adopting the agile way of working. Right?
Okay.
To me, agile transformation is something which has to happen at a broader organization. And that's how I would distinguish between agile adoption and transformation. And usually people start with adoption, which is that they start with a team or 2 teams and start small, which is always good because you want to inspect and adapt. You want to learn along the journey, and you don't want to take a big bang approach. I mean, agile is, again, as we all know, it's not about doing a big bang, but it's about doing things in smaller increments. And that's what we try to do in a transformation initiative as well. We start with adoption and then we move to a broader transformation. So adoption is usually at team level, but transformation is at how do you scale, as well as how do you deal with issues at an organization level, which affect the team, but they affect them in an indirect way.
Okay. So I think we, the audience, and along with me, we got a fair idea about what this agile consultant spectrum is. So with the role, we also get an idea that how they add value. So if we want to talk about a particular consultant value addition, like how they contribute towards the success, I understand that at each level the value proposition would be different. So for simplicity's sake, we can pick up the coaching and advisory as a focused area, because embedded makes it quite clear that okay, you are with them, so you are always playing with them, you are teaching them. If you talk about coaching and advisory consultant, how they add value, because many times you may have a scenario where you can say that okay, since it's my watch, and a lot of time consultant comes up with a lot of recommendation, you do this, you do this, you do this, and if I am unable to do it, they will say since you are not doing it, you are not going to change. So how do the consultant add value, like in special case? Yeah.
Right. So I think let's try and understand, agility related challenges a bit. So I would think that consulting in Agile is a little bit more difficult as compared to consulting in other areas. And the simple reason is this, Saket, because Agile is all about values and principles, right? And it just provides you a framework based on which you should work on. Sure, there are some practices that are recommended in each of the Agile methodologies. Like Scrum has some practices, XP has some practices. But the point is that there is no one size fits all that works in an Agile environment. What a consultant brings in is the experience to understand to what level these practices need to be applied within a given context. Okay, so for example, Amazon may be checking in code on an average every 13 seconds. Now, do we really want to prescribe that kind of very solid, I would say, or very fine-tuned engineering practice for many companies? Maybe it's not needed there. Maybe the organization constraints are such that going down that path, it just does not make sense from a cost-benefit perspective. So, how do you factor in the organization level constraints? How do you factor in the appetite for change on the ground? How do you really decide what are the pain areas? Because many times people confuse symptoms with problems. Okay. Many times people say, oh, we have a quality issue. We are having a lot of defects in our product or in our solution. That is just a symptom of something not working underneath, right? And that's where an experienced consultant is not only expert with respect to the Agile practices, but also has a broad understanding of the context, who's able to learn very quickly, who's able to leverage on his or her past experience, and bring that all into play in deciding how to take things forward. That to me is the biggest value which a consultant brings in, in an Agile environment. And also, like all consultants do, they are third-party advisors, right? So they come in with an unbiased view. They're able to look at things in an objective way, look at things to say, all right, this is working well, this is not working well. Have the courage to call out what's not working well. Of course, the message has to be delivered in a palatable way. But nonetheless, I would say that as compared to somebody who's within the organization, their words would be much more, I would say, powerful or hard-hitting in terms of delivering that message as to what's not working well. Essentially, it's about showing the mirror to the organization and to the senior leadership about what's not working well. And I would say that's the value that that an Agile consultant brings.
Okay, so if I have, if I want to summarize what I have understood is that there are lots of books, there are a lot of case studies, if somebody wants to understand about Agile transformation or how Agile works, they can read the books, they can read the case study, but those things may not be directly applicable to them in their context. Like there are so many tips to get fit. So there are books, there are TV channels, there are magazines which talks about do 3 things, 4 things, and you can become you can have a great body. But a personal coach or a consultant will look at your constraint. You sleep at 12, you wake up at 6, and then you sleep 4 hours in between. And this is how you work, because this is the type of shift you are involved in. Then he looks into his constraint, his body type, his strength, and figure it out what can work best for you. And since he is not from the inside, he can do that assessment and better than somebody in your family doing it, because your family member might be seeing you for a long. But ultimately, it's you, it's the organization who has to follow the prescription. It's the individual who has to do an exercise. Consultant can't push up for the person who is thinking of making a body.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So again, what the thing about agility is, Saket, people get misled because Agile is so easy to understand. I mean, if you read the manifesto or if you read the 12 principles, there is absolutely no rocket science about it, right? But when you want to translate those values and principles into applying them through practices into your team, people struggle, right? For example, how do you split stories? How do you split stories when you have a service layer which is different from a backend layer? How do you split stories end to end, right? And people struggle with those things. So you might read Mike Con's user stories applied and you might get some clues, but somebody needs to hold your hand in your own context to show how it works.
True. And I keep getting such questions whenever I go for a training that we have a problem in splitting the stories, and it results into poor velocity, it's result into poor allocation of work, and this situation becomes too complicated if there are multiple teams. So it's still okay till the time you have a one team, but as you grow from one team to multiple team, this becomes itself as a one pain area, which is difficult to answer. So since we are talking about the assessment, I would take a question from Ashish. So he's saying hi to you and saying that. So it's good to see you after a long time. So his question is that what are the some of the ways do you use as a consultant to do an initial assessment of the teams? Say what all factors, criteria do you use to find out team assessment? I think he's talking about a team performance assessment and an enterprise assessment. A team assessment in an enterprise environment.
Sure.
So some direct tips.
Yeah, sure. I think you need to start at a broader level is to understand, what is the motive for the organization to undergo the Agile Adoption / transformation, right? What are the pain areas which they are trying to target? What is the competitive advantage which they are trying to get through this initiative? Because this is a huge initiative. I mean, it's not that you will get over this Agile Adoption Transformation initiative within 3 months or 6 months. It takes huge commitment and it takes a lot of effort to undergo this transformation. And my experience has generally been that people, move towards this or move towards any big change initiative when they are in a lot of pain. So it's really important to understand where it is hurting and why it is hurting, so that you can then try to alleviate that pain when you're actually doing the coaching. So the broader intent of why the organization / the team wants to undergo the Agile transformation needs to be understood. Once you have done that, then you need to look at the specific areas which might be impacting those pain areas. For example, you could one of the areas which I have always used is what is called as the Agile maturity model. If you Google up, there is enough stuff on that which has come from Thoughtworks. There's about 10 dimensions related to management and 4 dimensions related to technical practices. So, for example, management dimensions could be shared responsibility or collaboration or quality of requirements and things like that, right? And technical dimensions could be your testing practices, your coding practices, and things like that. And you can come up with your own dimensions. I mean, that model just suggests 10. I have expanded on those, and I have a list of about 18 to 20 dimensions. I broadly look at when I try to look at a team, but I don't choose all those 18 or 20 based on the particular pain area which I am trying to target to help out with. Right, I choose about anywhere between 6 to 8 dimensions based on which I benchmark or not benchmark, I would say, baseline the current state of the team. And there are different maturity levels within each of those dimensions. So you would have a level where it is so aggressive that any agile practice that you introduce is just not going to help. It is going to be counterproductive. Then you have a neutral state, then you have a state where it is just in early stages of adoption. Then you have a state which is very, very conducive for adoption. Then you have a state which is like a really an innovative or an advanced state. They're already agile without even knowing it. So you really need to understand where that is to do a current state assessment. And then, as I said earlier, you have to work with your senior management to understand what is that target state that you want to target. You don't want to be always going to the ultimate perfect target state because the cost benefits are not worth it. Right? And that gap between that current state and target state then tells you what steps you need to take in order to coach this team and how long it is going to take. I hope that gives you, and Ashish, a fair idea of how an assessment is done.
Great. Agile maturity model is a starting point, and one can add as per the situation demands. Again, we spoke about the value addition the consultant does. So the customization and understanding the situation is the place where the value addition comes in place. So that is what I understand out of your answer.
Yes.
Great. So going forward, if we extend this particular point further, there are so many consultants. Like if you search on LinkedIn and any place, there are the consultant, like there are so many self-declared consultant. So how do we understand, or how do we evaluate that which consultant worth looking at? Is it something to do with what kind of models he uses, what kind of templates he comes with, or like I find many consultant talks about that you hire us, we will solve your problem. I find separate set of consultant, they give you an assessment template first. You need to answer few queries and then only they come up with their codes and that kind of details. So what is your view on this aspect?
The caveat here is that I am myself a consultant, so please take it with a pinch of salt. But what I do want to say is I think the ultimate test of a consultant is in the track record of the consultant, right? The track record of a consultant should speak for itself. And the track record comes in through success stories which the consultant has been able to create in his or her past engagements with various clients. And what are the kind of references he or she can provide? What is the feedback which he or she has received, which he or she can share in order to demonstrate the value addition? Of course, you need to also have a holistic view of that person. Has the person written some blogs? Is the person contributing to discussions on LinkedIn? Is the person contributing to conferences? Has he spoken at conferences and shown some thought leadership? I think those are the kind of things which you need to look at, and data points you need to look at when you actually see whether a consultant has credibility or not. But in my view, the best indicator of credibility is success stories which he or she is able to showcase properly.
Great. We end up answering the Atulya's questions, like he was asking about that when an organization hire a consultant or coach, what kind of areas he should look into to ensure that consultant is fit for the particular job. So if I go with Sunil's understanding, he is primarily focusing on the past records. He's primarily focusing on the references and the results the person has produced, rather than the dimension, rather than the pitch which people or a consultant is making. So that is what I take.
And demonstration of thought leadership.
And the demonstration of thought leadership under various community events.
Events, blogs, conferences, articles, what have you.
Great. So invariably we end up answering few queries in the process. Great. So so why do we have so many consultants then? Like, why do you think that why we are mushrooming consultant? Any thought on that?
Well, it's a simple demand-supply mismatch, Saket, right? The point is there are now organizations which are suddenly realizing that agility is the way forward. And as I mentioned to you, agility, adopting agile or transforming to agile on your own is a different proposition. You need experienced people in order to help the organization, help the team transition through this whole adoption transformation process. So we have a serious dearth of experienced consultants, and that's why a lot of people are rushing in, proclaiming to be consultants. Unfortunately, certifications are giving people a false sense of proficiency. That you do a 3-day course and you become an expert. The problem is, as I said, right, Agile is just a framework and is based more on values and principles, and how you apply those is very context specific. So while certifications are useful and is a good starting point to begin your learning, it definitely is not something which gives you any sense of expertise of a person. So certification backed with experience surely does help. But I think somebody just doing a certification and saying that I am now expert in Agile and Lean and I am qualified to become a consultant, I think that's taking it too far. So to answer your question again, in short, it's clearly a demand-supply mismatch which people are trying to accomplish.
Great. So if I take it in a general firm, like we have so many doctors, but only few doctors are so successful, and for them we wait for. And there are many clinics, doctors who don't get clients. So it's like that people keep reading, doing MBBS and start practicing, but the one who really solves problem are the one which are looked after.
And imagine we do this to doctors even after they have put in 5-6 years of study.
I know.
Right, and here somebody is doing a 2 or 3 day certification and then claiming to be an expert. Isn't there something wrong?
I still remember when we met and you said about that, like you are surprised how people put these acronym in front of their name after just attending 2 days of class. People usually put MBAs or MBBS after at least spending many years, and then they feel proud of it. But nowadays people just do a 2 days program and they feel so proud of that course, they end up putting at the end of their name.
Saket, the problem is that is what is selling in the market today. And to some extent, I mean, I don't blame people, because people are just catering to market needs, and if that is what sells, then that is what people will provide you with, right? And clearly that is what is selling in the market today.
Great. So I think Ashish is raising one question on Ashish thing, the different one. And I think somehow we have responded it. He's talking about, is the Agile Consultant is the person who pitches to bring the new business for the organizations. I mean, he's the person who works on proposals, RFPs. So I think many organization defines it like that, and they define somebody, an Agile Consultant, who work in that particular community of practice or center of excellence, and may work as a pre-sale guy. So any comment on this?
Frankly speaking, Saket, I have, I am employed at Thoughtworks, and I am not an independent consultant. So I have never filled any RFP or responded to any pre-sales calls or whatever. Sure, I have had conversations with senior executives before we commence an engagement, and I have actually gone through rigorous interviews with my prospective clients before they have taken me as a consultant, because they wanted to assess my credibility. But to be honest with you, I mean, I have not gone through any sales process in my journey as an Agile consultant. That's been taken care of by my colleagues. So.
Great. So let's keep talking forward about the consultant role. I'm not sure if you have addressed that part. So how do we evaluate the effectiveness of Agile Consultant? Like we spoke about, he adds value by prescribing things, but again we left it on the person to execute the exercise on his own. So if something is not working, how do I know, is it me who is not following the advice, or is this guy who is giving me a wrong advice? So
I think the onus is on both the consultant as well as the client, to monitor progress. And again, it's about how you can shorten feedback loops, right? The key to agility is shortening the feedback loops. And I think the same principle applies to a consulting engagement as well, right? It's up to the consultant to showcase, what value he or she has added, and it is also up to the client to ensure that there are intermittent milestones defined and metrics which are agreed to see whether the value is being delivered or not by the consultant. Okay, so the onus is on both sides to do that. Now, coming to specifics in terms of how do you evaluate if a consultant is adding value or not? I think there are a few things which one can look at broadly. One is, as I said, if you have agreed to move towards a target state from a current state, right? It's not just one jump that you make there. You will climb several small steps from your current state to get to a target state. And I think it is very important to define what those mini milestones are, and make sure that you are making progress on those milestones within the given timeline that you have. And as long as that direction is there, then I think the consultant should be seen as somebody who is delivering value. Of course, there could be constraints, there could be preconditions which the consultant may have put in terms of saying that, okay, unless this is done, I'm not able to add value here. And that has been called out, but if the organization is not able to move that constraint or able to eliminate that constraint, then obviously you can't blame the consultant for not being able to add value there. And obviously a consultant also should sort of stop or give less emphasis to an area where he or she is not able to make that impact as much because of that given constraint. So tracking intermittent milestones with respect to progress towards target states on various dimensions, I think is one way to measure value addition of a consultant. The second parameter to look at is, I think, to what extent is the consultant able to create internal champions within the organization? Okay. So this is again about mentoring people. So if you look at the adoption curve, you have people who fall into the category of innovators, early adopters, early majority, late majority, and laggards, right? So if you again baseline the number of people who might be there when the consulting engagement began, vis-a-vis after a given period of time, how many people have now gone up in the respective categories in the early adoption cycle with respect to, say, being innovators or being early adopters? Then that's another good way to measure the effectiveness of the consultant. Okay. The third thing I would say is, has the consultant made a difference to business and IT collaboration and to the level of satisfaction of the business to the customer? Because to me, the primary reason for adopting agility is today driven by business, right? Today, the business environment is so dynamic, the competition is so intense, the marketplace is so dynamic, products are coming out left, right, and center every few days, and the environment is just very volatile, and the organization has to respond to all of that. And I think if the organization is making progress towards increasing collaboration with business and to adding value to the business, and it is coming from the business that, yes, we are now seeing more value added coming from the IT, or we are now seeing better visibility. We are now having more flexibility with respect to prioritizing our requirements. The IT department is more sensitive to our prioritized needs. So if on all those counts, if business is happier than before, then I would say the consultant is also delivering that, right? So that is with respect to business. Then there are two parameters I would say one can look at a team level as well. One is whether the team is looking at continuous improvement and whether the team is now having a culture of continuous improvement. Because to me, that's the biggest sustainable, impactful thing a consultant can give with a team, is that if a team themselves recognize and learns to introspect and then recognize what is working well and what's not working well, I think that's a tremendous value addition which a consultant can do in terms of making a team self-sustaining as well as taking them on a continuous improvement. And this, over a long period of time, will deliver tremendous benefits. Okay? So again, that is, I would say, a good way to judge whether a consultant is delivering value. And the last but not the least, and there are many more, but I'm just stopping at the top 5, is have the feedback loops shortened, right? So feedback is between team members, between team and senior management, between team and the client, right? At multiple levels, we have feedback loops. And if through agile practices, through agile ceremonies, if the consultant is able to bring about a reduction in feedback loops, right? Then I think the consultant has added value.
Great. So the only concern I have is if really the results are coming, if really the improvement is happening, then it's a happy scenario, and we know that things are going good, and consultant is adding value, and team is also adding value. We don't have to differentiate what value came from a consultant and how much the team improved on it. But the problem is with when things are not working out, when things are not going in a direction. So do you think that, and then the consultant may think of that you are not following the advice, and team, the organization may say that you are confusing us. So do you think that a doctor should stop giving prescription when the patient is not following the advice, and remove himself that I am no more your doctor, or keep charging his fees, keep prescribing it, and say that it's up to you, you are not improving because. So how do we handle that situation where things are not working out?
Yeah, I think it's really important to be honest about what are some of the impediments which are causing a consultant not to be effective. Right? And it's very, very important to highlight those constraints to the management early on, and keep highlighting those for at least a given period of time to give them an opportunity to see how they can alleviate those, and offer to help again with tangible steps to alleviate those constraints as well. But I think the point is, if you have hit a wall and if you're not able to go beyond that, at least as far as I am concerned, I would gracefully walk out of that situation saying that, look, I am not able to add value given the constraints which are there, and it really doesn't make sense for me to continue as a consultant in this situation. Maybe you need time to alleviate those constraints on your own, and maybe I can come back to you after a given period of time when you think that you're ready to resume my services. But at this point in time, it's perhaps better for me to walk away from the situation. So rather than try to break a wall, with your head, it's probably best to walk away. Be honest. I would say that you will get far more respect from your client, even though you have not been able to make an impact, but surely for your honesty and integrity, that you have not been able to make a difference, and you have given them valid reasons why you are struggling to make a difference and walking away from that situation, as compared to just being there and for the sake of billing. I think, as I said, client references are far more important today, and walking away from a situation with your head held high is far better than walking down a path where it's just a loop situation for employees.
Great. So what I summarize on the basis of is first we create dimensions. We understand that what this assignment is all about, where do we want to reach, and those dimensions, those KPIs can have some measurable metrics, or it can also have some information like, are we able to create internal champion? Is the team collaboration is improving? And the most important thing is that we have a small feedback loop on those dimensions. So we identify the cadence, that at what frequency we are going to check and evaluate our say overall agile adoption or transformation or a consultant efficiency on those dimensions. And if things are not working out, we may do a retrospective on those cycles and identify it could be a consultant problem also, but that also need to be retrospect on. And if it's a client problem, that also needs to be retrospect on. We give few opportunities, and if client sees that this thing is not working, or consultant sees this thing is not working, they may need to find a separate doctor. This doctor or a doctor has to leave, that this is not something which I can cure. You need to find someone else who can take care of you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, yeah. So let's take some questions before I move ahead on my agenda. So we have a question from Japan, and he's talking about that. Hi Sunil, nice to meet you. I am Japanese EA consultant. My question is, what let member of development team member challenge new method like Agile? Okay, do you have good idea which member let have passion as same as salt satyagraha? Yeah, what do you interpret? I feel that he's
I'm
asking.
not sure I've understood the question, Saket. So can we try and understand the question a little bit better before I even try to answer it?
Okay, so what I understand out of it, my interpretation is that when you introduce agile kind of process in a group, and you find resistance from few members, so how do I identify an early adapter? How do I identify that this guy can take it for further, and if I invest on this, he may help me to transform this team?
I think it's really a judgment call. There are no quantitative metrics based on which whether or a checklist which you can say that yes, this guy is an early adopter or this guy is an innovator. I think it's all about the willingness to learn, the willingness to keep an open mind, the willingness to try, and sheer enthusiasm and conviction about this new way of working, and understanding the broader picture of how this way of working is probably going to help the organization on its journey. With respect to either getting a competitive advantage or moving on the pain point away. It's all about the enthusiasm, the willingness to learn, the willingness to take leadership within the team, the willingness to sort of try new things, try new methods, the willingness to give feedback on what's working, what's not working well. I would apply these characteristics to identify innovators and early adopters.
Great. Specific question, and I want direct actionable advices from you. I know many of our audience who are watching this hangout and who would be watching the recording of it are thinking of becoming an agile consultant, are aspiring to become agile coach. So what kind of actionable advice you want to give to them that if they follow it in order to become a good consultant, and you can even ask about that kind of talent or kind of internal assessment they can do, that are they right for this job, first thing. And if they find that they are right for this job after doing an internal assessment, what should they do? How they become one?
Okay. So I just want to give a slightly holistic view of consulting again. Consulting is both an art and a science. The science bit lies in the subject matter expertise which the consultant should have, right? So here we are talking of agile, lean, Kanban, systems thinking, all those kind of things, right? So you need to build your expertise in these areas. You need to read a lot. You need to demonstrate thought leadership. You need to attend conferences. You need to interact with people who are knowledgeable in these areas. To build your expertise. It is just not about reading books. I think interactions enrich our knowledge a lot more. Sure, books help, but they give you data points based on which you should interact and exchange ideas, and that of course helps a lot. Then you build your subject matter expertise where you actually put it into practice. So I would say start off in some key role within the team that you are in, or if you want to work as an independent, then maybe take up a role of a product owner or a scrum master, which is some of the more critical roles within any team, which give you a team level perspective on things. And I think starting that role would be important. The art of consulting lies in soft skills. Okay, and soft skills are skills related to communication, skills related to stakeholder management, skills related to your ability to learn, your ability to say, no, I don't know, right? You may not have answer to any question, but how do you actually, say that you don't know about something and you will come back? All those things, they cannot be taught. They have to be learned through experience. I mean, you can read as many books on communication skills or presentation skills, but only through experience and only through practice can you refine those skills and can you get better at those skills. And I think one needs to do a self-assessment on how good are we at those soft skills. I mean, you may have all the agile knowledge or lean knowledge or Kanban knowledge, but if you are weak on soft skills, that's not a good starting point, to become a consultant. And I think one needs to focus on refining your soft skills to share experience. So between the two, between hard skills and soft skills, I would say that acquiring hard skills is relatively much easier as compared to soft skills. So I would again look at a Shuhari type of a model, to apply to people who want to get into consulting, is to start at the shoe level, which is that you are aware of the basic principles. You are focusing on implementing the agile practices, at a team level. And once you have done that, and once you have demonstrated a little bit of track record around that, when you move to the R level, and then finally the E level, which is then you become a coach, you become an advisor, you work with multiple teams, and then you can perhaps go on to the organization of enterprise transformation.
Great. So what I get from this conversation, correct me if I am understanding it wrong. So one has to be passionate about talking with people. You should have a good people skills, soft skills, or at least you should have a spike of solving people related issues, guiding them into a direction. And if you feel those kind of things kicks you, then maybe a consulting is the right role, because that kind of spike is needed. If you're not comfortable talking with people, better you focus on other areas, you may grow better. And once you have those skills, then you sharpen those skills, because these are the skills which are going to be making you, will be helping you as a good consultant or a coach. And acquire the hard skills like learning about the tools, learning about value stream mapping, for example, understanding how the cumulative flow diagram works, understanding how things work. Those are like hard technical skills, which are also important, but they can be learned. But sharpening is needed for soft skills. Yeah.
Very true. And then the main reason, Saket, is because, as we all know, Agile is a mindset, right? And mindset changes require you to work with people very, very closely. It's just not about, I tell you, so you do it, right? You really need to understand the appetite for change. And you have different people, different organizations have different appetites for change. And as a consultant, I think my job is not only to understand the appetite for change, but also to create that appetite for change to the best extent that I can. And you very rightly said, I mean, passion about working with people, making a difference to people, understanding their insecurities, building trust, with the team members, with the management, is so important for people to be successful as consultants. I mean, again, you can get the team to say, do Agile, and the team may say, yes, we are doing stand-ups and we are doing retrospectives and we are doing release plannings. And I have seen situations where teams are saying they're doing all of this, their teams are not succeeding at all or not making any impact with respect to value addition to the organization, is because they're just focused on doing Agile rather than being Agile. And a good consultant, will have to start at doing Agile, but will quickly need to move to making people be Agile and the organization be Agile. And that really involves a lot of soft skills to move from doing Agile to being Agile.
Great. And in order to evaluate or make an actionable things out of it, is people can start small. They can start playing role at a team level. They can start performing role like a Scrum Master, product owner, and judge how they are doing. And even if you are not getting an opportunity to work as a Scrum Master or a product owner, people can get involved in community. Because the good part of Agile and Scrum is that you have a lot of user groups like you can find a lot of small community conferences, and if you involve there, you may play an organizing role and try to guide and lead people on those kind of not-for-profit events. May help you to sharpen your soft skills, or at least know your skills, what you are at good at. Make sense? Yeah.
Yes. So there are multiple ways in which you can contribute, you can enrich your knowledge, and you can learn. And playing the role obviously is a good head start. But even if you can't, you can still start off in small ways to build your knowledge and see whether you have the aptitude or not.
And great, and connect with me. We do a lot of community events in many cities, so I can give you lots of opportunities, people. So great. So we are approaching towards the final segment of our session. And I want to take this conversation beyond an Agile consultant role. I want to talk about what kind of frequent challenges do you see in Agile adoption transformation projects? Like, if you have to talk about the impediments, what kind of big or frequent impediments you see in your experience, in your assignments, or in your conversation with a fellow consultant?
Right. So I think the thing which I have faced the most as an impediment is that people treat Agile just like a methodology, which is a checklist-driven methodology. People don't understand the importance of mindset change. People don't understand that there's a need for creating that appetite for change, as I mentioned. So maybe the senior management is convinced or are half convinced about the need to go agile. Maybe the pain is hurting them quite a bit. Maybe the organization's survival is at stake unless they change their ways of working and therefore they want to try something. And they've heard about this, so they want to give it a shot. But clearly, not understanding that this initiative is just beyond practices and it's more a mindset level change, and that change has to happen across all layers of the organization. So taking people into confidence at the ground level in terms of why we are doing this and creating that appetite for change is, I would say, the biggest impediment which I have come across while consulting on agile transformation initiatives. And I view at appetite for change as having appetite for food. If you don't have appetite for food and if you try to eat something, you will puke it out, right? Or it will just not stay in your stomach. So it's very important to create that hunger for change so that when the change is being introduced, it becomes palatable. Right. The other bit is about people are not clear as to why they are adopting agile. There are some organizations which say, yeah, we just want to do it because we're hearing it and it's going to help us. But clearly linking it to the business drivers which they want to impact on is not clear to them. Obviously, a consultant can help solve this problem, but sometimes you have a leadership or middle management which is not very particular about this aspect is also a problem. The other area is that people think it is just an IT initiative and it is only a team level thing to be done, right? And if you make an IT team follow the agile practices, then we are done with our agile adoption and transformation. What people don't understand is the level of changes that you need to make at an organization level, especially on the HR side, to ensure that the agile transformation is supported and sustained. For example, in an agile, you are moving away from individual level, I would say, importance to a team level importance, right? Your team is your pivot and not so much an individual. So how do you move from an individual success criteria evaluation to a team success criteria evaluation? How do you build in frequent feedback mechanisms between team members as compared to just having an annual appraisal? How do you deal with the fact that even though they may be a manager in the team, he or she is not the person who is deciding the team members' appraisal, but it is the entire team who is playing a role in appraisal of every single team member within the team itself. Those kind of things and making changes to the HR policies in an appropriate way to support the agile adoption transformation. And there are other organization level changes also which you need to make, which people just don't appreciate and understand. And to me, that's a big challenge. One of the other challenges which I unfortunately see is that people are only focusing on Scrum practices. So Scrum is great, and Scrum has definite advantages in terms of bringing in, higher visibility into project progress, bringing in a little bit more collaboration between business and IT, focusing on really slicing requirements and taking them through the development cycle. But the thing with Scrum is that it will give you immediate benefits, but the benefits are also easy to regress back, and they can just fall apart if you don't put in measures which will help them sustain. And to me, the true benefits of agility lie in combination of Scrum as well as engineering practices. And there are many organizations who are not even looking at investing in engineering practices. These practices reinforce each other, right? And people just don't understand it because technical practices require a bit of investment, require serious commitment to changing ways of working. For example, if you have to write a test before you code, or if you have to do pair programming, you get funny questions as why do I have to write a test, and is it not wasted effort? Or if you are doing pair programming, why are two people doing one person's job? And there are a lot of misconceptions around these, and people are not willing to look at technical practices to adopt. Scrum is a low-hanging fruit, so people just grab that and stick with that. And then when it regresses, people sort of blame Agile, saying that Agile is not working. That's the other bit. The last and final bit I would say is that Agile brings in a lot of transparency. People start seeing problems early, but people somehow confuse with the fact that Agile is not the cause of the problems, but Agile is actually bringing out those problems in the open early. And people wrongly blame Agile, saying, "Oh, Agile is causing these problems." No, you are going to anyway get that problem. What Agile has done is expose that problem to you early enough for you to solve it. And I think that is something which is hard to swallow, because people are used to seeing NPPs or project plans in all green till 90% stage, and then things collapse in the last 10%. Whereas here, even at 5 or 10% progress, Agile will show you red. So Agile is not a silver bullet. It is not something which will solve the organization's dysfunctions or the team dysfunctions which are there. But it will highlight it very, very quickly. And then it is up to the team members, up to the senior management to see what they can do to resolve those problems. So I think that's something which many organizations, many teams find hard in terms of dealing with.
So if I understand it, if I try to put it into a frame, like you spoke about two dimensions, like we have a top level adaptation and we have a bottom level adaptations. So where do you find more resistance and more impediments? Like, is it culture? Is the management is not clear why about Agile, or that management is clear, that's why they hired that coach? Yeah, that's a separate thing, that many times management just hire a trainer. They says, okay, we want Agile, let's do a Scrum training for 2 days. And after that implement Scrum. And some who are more intelligent, they say that Scrum training with a particular tool. And if we are done with that, let's implement Agile. So that's a top level issues. But a lot of time you also find bottom level resistance. Like people don't want to do, say, testing. People don't want to do TDD, or people don't want to hear that you can be a cross-functional. So I was giving a session and I spoke about that. If you have a queue at testing, don't push more code into it. Rather than if you can contribute 5%, 10% to a testing, do that. Else, at least don't code more. If you can give this much help, that, and people were like kind of offended with that kind of statement, because this says that we have such a configuration management system, we will keep coding, we can create a separate branch, etc., XYZ, and I am good at coding, I will do that. So that's kind of a bottom level resistance. So where do you find the bigger challenge, at a top level or at a bottom level? And yeah, that's the question.
I have seen both scenarios, Saket, or worse challenges at both levels all put together, and really it's a difficult situation. So sometimes, I have seen an organization where in order to remove that bottom level resistance, the top level leadership was convinced, but to create that appetite for change, they actually let the teams fail a little bit and feel the pain of that failure. And then the team started saying, hey, we need help. We are not succeeding with this, or this is hurting us now. So I would really applaud the management, for actually going down that path and taking that risk of allowing the team to fail a little bit, so that the appetite for change is created. But I have seen both scenarios. I mean, sometimes, the teams are very, very keen because they're feeling pain on the ground, and they want to change. Senior management is sort of half convinced, they are not very sure, and vice versa as well, where the top management is convinced, but they have not worked hard enough on creating appetite on the ground. So both scenarios are possible.
So we have a finally consultant answer. It depends.
I avoided using those words if you notice.
Okay. So we are approaching our time box, and we do have some questions, but I feel that those questions can be handled via Twitter hashtag. So friends, I know you have some specific small questions which you need a specific answer. Please post those queries in Twitter with the hashtag #DiscussAgile, and you can tag Sunil. So if you follow Discuss Agile, you can see the Sunil's hashtag, Sunil's Twitter handler, and we will definitely get answers to your queries. Many of these queries were discussed during the session, so some of you might have joined us late. So watching the complete video once it is live, it will be live within 1 minute of finishing of this session, will also help you to get insight of this 1 hour conversation. Thanks a lot, Sunil. It was really nice talking to you, and I'm sure that our community must have learned many things about the role of a consultant. I am sure that your talk must have cleared many myths and misconception about the consultant role, like he's a RFP guy. Then he is someone who is kind of a doctor, who is checking your environment, checking your body, and prescribing you a solution which can make you healthy or better.
Okay, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I mean, I truly enjoyed our conversation, and I sincerely hope that the listeners will pose questions, and I would be more than happy to answer their questions and engage in any discussion offline or online as may be.
Thank you, Sunil, and listeners who are living in Delhi NCR region, you can join our Agile conference. We are doing a Discuss Agile Delhi conference on 13th and 14th June. So you can get more details on our website discussagile.com. Thanks again for joining in, and thank you, Sunil.
Thank you very much, Saket.
Thank you.
Bye bye.